All right. Let me get started with a few general remarks. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm glad that the good Lord shone down upon us with keeping the ice and the sleet this afternoon and not this morning. So at least we'll get that out of the way before we finish up. Thank you all for joining us for this very important event. I think all of us have seen everything which has been going on in Burma and Bangladesh with the Rohingya, all the refugees. As we were talking with one of the media reps, this is likely to be one of the biggest stories of the year. The crisis that has been occurring is not going to go away. If anything, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So we're delighted to have an opportunity to share with people who are from that community, people who are born, raised in Arakan or other places in Burma, but now living in the United States, but still have extensive ties, contacts, family members, co-workers, etc., still back either in Burma itself or in those refugee camps in Bangladesh. So this is a perfect opportunity. What I'd like to do is first just to acknowledge all of the people who are from this delegation. I'll introduce them by name and organization only. We will have an opportunity to speak first with the chairman of the Burma Task Force and then with a couple of the representatives. But please, we want this to be a dialogue, so we'd like to have every opportunity for you to ask as many questions as possible. But let me just go through the delegation members. I'll just ask you to look back at the audience and raise your hand. Muhammad Mustaq Muhammad Arif, who's from the Rohingya Society of Greater Nashua in New Hampshire. Abdul Hamid bin Musa Ali, who is the Burmese Rohingya community of Wisconsin. Shaukat Ali from the Rohingya American Society in Milwaukee. Nasir bin Zakaria, with the Rohingya Cultural Center of Chicago. Mohammed Dean from the Bama Burmese American Muslim Association in California. Mohiuddin Muhammad Yusuf from the World Rohingya Organization. You can tell he's got that cap that says WRO. Dead giveaway. Reza Uddin from the Oregon Rohingya Society in Portland. Kit Mong Wen from the Rohingya National Coalition in Los Angeles. And Dr. Wakar Ahmed Uddin, who was here yesterday, but has had a family emergency, so he's not. He had to return home, not able to be with us. But let me first say a few words about the Burma Task Force, and I'd like to introduce the chairman to say a few words of greeting to everyone. Burma Task Force is a group of organizations that have come together and have been working on this issue for a number of years. Despite all the best efforts and activities, the situation has continued to worsen. We have seen in our lifetimes a number of different persecutions, ethnic cleansings, but this really comes to the top of the heap. While we're seeing language coming out of Burma, which is reminiscent of Germany in the 1930s, it's in a lot of ways worse than what happened in Bosnia, worse than what happened in Rwanda, because it's an entire community which is being deliberately targeted. These people, as we've said repeatedly, these are not the refugees or the immigrants that the Burmese government would like the world to believe. They are people who have lived in what now is Burma, but in many cases was formerly the independent kingdom of Arakan for hundreds and hundreds of years. There are people who have deep roots, people whose families have grown up there, people who have every right to be in that society. But ever since independence in the 1940s, the Muslim population has been subject to increasing persecution, increasing discrimination, and increasing violence carried out not by individuals, not by mobs, but by the state itself. And this has to stop. People have characterized this as a genocide. It is as close, if not the spot on, as a genocide, and that we need to be taking some action. The United States is and has been the world leader in humanitarian efforts. This is a bipartisan issue. We've had many meetings in Congress. People in Congress and in the government acknowledge that this is a bipartisan humanitarian issue. It has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with the fact that people are being deliberately targeted, murdered, raped, having their villages burned, having their livelihoods destroyed. So, on that happy note, I'd like to introduce the chairman of the Burma Task Force, who has been active in this realm, not just for Burma, but for other humanitarian causes in the past. but it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Imam Malik Mujahid, Chairman, Burma Task Force. Imam?
And that was Bob Marro,
Oh, yeah, I'm
who is our Washington D.C. Outreach person. Thank you so much. My name is Imam Malik Mujahid. Malik, M-A-L-I-K, Mujahid, M-U-J-A-H-I-D. And I chair Burma Task Force USA, which is a coalition of 19 American organizations, and has been representing on this issue for the last 5 years. Rohingyas are indigenous people living in their ancestral land. They have always been citizens. They have always voted. They always elected their representatives. They served in military and army and police forces, saving lives of people as physicians and working in their own fields. They are very self-reliant people, but in 1982, Burmese military took away their citizenship. That was the beginning of slow genocide. And right now, that slow genocide has turned into final solution, as more than 1 million people in the last few months have been thrown out of their home and escaped their life. When United Nations says that 52% of all women have been raped, they are not exaggerating, according to their surveys. And that's probably the reason United Nations admission and visa to Burma is repeatedly being denied. But this game of throwing people out through genocidal instruments and then retreating has been a game which favors Burmese government pretty much, because each time they throw people out, they put conditions which are impossible to be met. For example, they ask their birth certificate to be available and documentation that they were born more than a century ago. If that rule is applied to all Burma, there will be no one left in Burma. But that is what is being imposed, and I would like you to pay attention to this graph over here. And you have copies of this from 1978, 300,000, 250,000, 200,000, 100,000, and now it reaches more than 650,000. This game are attacking them, raping women, burning their villages, destroying and taking over whatever possessions or business goods they have, is a policy. Not by some people here and there, it's a government policy which is being implemented. It is well documented, and we are glad that we have here 10 persons who themselves have seen that genocide from their eyes. Now in America, we have 4,000 Rohingya people, and these are their leaders from their communities, taking care of the communities as well as struggling to support their people over there. Well, thank you so much. We are available for the comment and question and answers, and we will have brief remarks for a couple of other representatives.
And just let me re-emphasize one point. Probably the most famous person in Burma now is Aung San Suu Kyi. But she is the daughter, and the reason that she's famous is that she is the daughter of Aung San, who was the father of independence of Burma. And at independence, after World War II, when Aung San was negotiating with the British about getting independence for Burma, he made it quite clear that the Rohingya were part of the Burmese ethnicities and that they had equal status with all other ethnic groups in that country. It is only since then that, that as Imam Malik was saying, that those rights have been chipped away until it's finally come out into full-blown persecution. So, that being said, I'd like to now, you've heard from us, we'd like to ask some of our colleagues who are from the delegation, who are Rohingya, and are willing to talk about their own experiences and what they're doing here in the United States to try and help that. I'm going to ask first Mohammed Dean from the BAMA, B-A-M-A, which is the Burmese American Muslim Association in California. So, Brother Mohammed. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mohammed, M-O-H-A-M-M-E-D. Last name is Dean, D-E-A-N. My Burmese community call me Saulai. That's my birth certificate, say my Saulai. Mr. Saulai. If you say Usaulai, they're going to mess up with the first name and last name. Call me Mr. Saulai. So I was born the Mongol Rakhine State, so-called Rakhine State, we call Arakan, which is our native land, in Myanmar. So I am the former president of Burmese American Muslim Association in Los Angeles based. I've been working the last 30 years for the Rohingya cause, all other minority in Burma, especially now international level hot topic, the Rohingya issue. So that said, right now, I was so involved because my own sisters in the refugee camp right now. And my sisters, my niece, and my cousin, all houses are burned out, nothing left. They just escaped from the Mondo area township to save their life. They left everything. For the generously they saved, and the Burmese government is saying that they brought their own houses. It's not my own. How are you going to believe that? My own relative, I believe, oh my God, the authority inside, they are taking, propagating, and the wrong information. So I have been keeping in touch with my relative every single day since happening last August. It was heartburning. So I can do so much for own relative. I cannot do all for my people. And here, the news media, the worlds, and they are propagating our Rohingya is not illegal immigrant to this ancestral land. Our forefather was there. We're a citizen of that country. We have elected official there in the world now recorded. As Brother Mujahid Burma said, all written right here. It's not like that. All the information is written here. So so this is a golden opportunity across the United States, our Rohingya leaders to get together to help to those 650,000 people just in 2 weeks could escape to the Bangladesh to save just their life. Not because they don't have a food over there, no, they just want to save their life. That's the whole purpose, to leave all behind. The relative, and still some there inside the Arakan state, my relative, now most of them in Bangladesh. So world international community, we like to build safer and more peaceful future for our people, and also, and then when it's Bangladesh government, they agree with our Myanmar government MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. They say they're going to take 100,000 people first, but they didn't prove anything, the facility to keep them over there because they don't have any plan. Just go where they came from. There's no life or their security, but they have to international community, especially our United States government, make a safe zone for those people. There's a human being to save their life. So our people and also an international community would like to request, appeal to safe return security, safe and security of our people. Anybody have questions, and I can answer later on. Thank you so much.
Good. As you said, we will have opportunities for questions later. And we will talk a little bit more about some of the things that we, the Rohingya delegation, and the Burma Task Force are seeking to get from our government. So, at this point, I'd like to ask one of our other colleagues, Shaukat Ali from the Rohingya American Society in Milwaukee, to come up and talk a little bit about his and his family's experiences as well.
Good morning, everybody here. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you to be here at this great important event So let me introduce first. My name is Shaukat Islam Chausuang in Burmese. I was from the capital city of Arakan, capital city Sitwe, Arakan. I fled my country due to military persecution in 1990 due to my involvement for the community people, for the community, the parties. So I would like to tell all of you today about the suffering and the plight of the Rohingya people in Burma. Rohingya are the part of more than 7 billion people of the world population. So this is not the bilateral issue, this is the international issue, international case. Everybody has the responsibility to raise the voice over the Rohingya cause. Today I would like to tell you over 650,000 Rohingya people fled to Bangladesh due to the genocide, ethnic cleansing and crime against humanity conducted by the Burmese military forces and Rakhine people. Since August 25, 2017, there were 650,000 people fled. They are suffering in a dire situation in Bangladesh camp. So recently Bangladesh and Burma, they made an agreement, memorandum of understanding to send back the refugee people to Burma. So this is our outcry situation. So without rights and citizenship granted, how these people could be sent to the Burma without any safe and guarantee? If these people sent back to the Burma, where they will live? Their original places, their original houses were burned onto the ground. So in this uncertain situation, so we would like to request the Bangladesh government and international community to make the effort not to send these people back to the Burma, because no any ethnic rights, no citizenship rights are mentioned in the agreement. In the agreement, I completely read out the agreement. I see that only they mention Myanmar resident. So Myanmar resident mean temporary visitor. They are not part of the Burma. They do not belong to Burma. They are just visitor. Burmese government is tactfully accepting these people to avoid the international pressure. This is the main reason. So Burmese people, as our Imam Abdul Malik has stated, these people are indigenous people originated in Arakan State for many years. They have the historical record. Dr. Francis Buchanan, he mentioned that he met the people in 1799 in the Mandalay Amarapura after the Burmese government occupied the Arakan territory in 1784. He met the people and he interviewed the people. He documented the history of the Rohingya people. Burmese government accepted, recognized these people as an indigenous population. Rohingyas are part of the country. They are the group of 144 ethnic group. How the Burmese government tactfully, they are denying their rights, they are excluding the citizenship and persecuting the people and make them wipe out completely from the Arakan, their ancestral homeland. So the people who are presently facing the genocide and escaped and entered into Bangladesh, so they need the peace, the security and the citizenship rights. Rohingyas are law-abiding people. They are not mixing with other, the bad people. They live in the Arakan before the formation of the Burma in 1948. So these people are part of the Burma. they belong to the Burma, they must have their citizenship rights in Burma. They must have their ethnic rights. They must have full freedom, full liberty in the country as a citizen. So I would like to request all media group, all representatives here to listen the plight of the Rohingya people and make recommendation, not just the Kofi Annan recommendation, the 88-point recommendation he already forwarded the Burmese government. The recommendation says these people are qualified, these people were recognized people, they have the obligation, Burmese government has the obligation to provide them to restore their citizenship right, not just the national verification card and VC. Why the Burmese government are trying to give the Rohingya people national verification card and VC? What that? This is just the people who do not have any documentation, any identification. These people who are from the ancestral homeland, they don't need any the national verification card. They have the national citizenship card, household family members card, NRC card, so they don't need. Why Burmese government are repeatedly trying to give them just the national verification card to make them foreigners, as they are saying that they are illegal immigrants from the Bangladesh. This is not true. All are bogus. This is creating the military government because they want the Arakan, they want the people to be wiped out. They make them the Arakan state, the pure Buddhist the state. They do not want the Muslim people over there. So more than 50 years they are suppressing, oppressing the people. Nobody is coming out to speak out about these people strongly. So I personally condemn the Burmese government because they are conducting genocide, ethnic and crime against humanity, ethnic cleansing, because Aung San Suu Kyi has the moral responsibility to protect these people. She was a prisoner about 15 years. Military government put her in the jail for 15 years. Now she has a full freedom to voice, to speak about the minority people. Why she is denying the existence of the Rohingya people? She is forgetting everything. While she was in the detention camp, she voiced she promised, she supported the Rohingya, the citizenship right. In 2005, I read the news. In 2005, she supported the Rohingya citizenship. Today, when she become the power, she is the state councillor. She forget everything. She is following by the principle of military government. So, as myself, I fled the Burma because of the military persecution. My identity card, AKB Naitong Kokraw Letong, my identity card is mentioned Rohingya. Not Rakhine Muslim, not Rohingya, Myanmar national, confiscated by the Burmese government at the Sipe airport in 1990. So this is our horrible situation to explain all of you. So please raise the voice, please raise the concern about the plight of the Rohingya people, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaka. Very emotional, and I think it's well on point. Now we'll have some closing remarks by the chairman of the Burma Task Force, and then we'll open the floor to questions.
And there are two asks which we have. Our government in the United States, American government has done a good job. US House of Representatives was the first elected body anywhere in the world who spoke for the restoration of Rohingya citizenship in 2015. One or two other countries followed after that. At this moment, 1/4 of all aid going to Rohingya people in camps is coming from the United States. We are very thankful for that. Another country which we really are thankful is Bangladesh. It's a small country, size of Iowa, but half of the US population there. They have welcomed them with open arms, and when I was there, I see Bangladeshis of all across the country bringing whatever they have to share with these people. With that, we have to ask, first from our government, because we are citizens of America, that we use our leadership to insist that no one should be returned back to genocide zone. There are people still coming out of Burma to Bangladesh, 400 to 500 on the daily basis. Sending people back to where? To a genocide zone. This is not acceptable. We are hoping that our government provide leadership to the world and stopping this thing until security and citizenship of these people and restoring their properties in their ancestral lands is guaranteed. To achieve this purpose, two things we are asking for. One thing came from the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and that was the only suggestion given out, that these people should be restored back to their ancestral land, but United Nations peace groups should have mandate to protect them, because protection is the main thing. That's the reason they have to run away from their own ancestral land. We support that suggestion of Bangladesh Prime Minister, and we ask our government, United Nations, and all the world leaders to support that suggestion. Second request we have is that how do we force Myanmar to do that? There's only one way to achieve. And that method has shown results in the past. When Suu Kyi was in prison, all of us, including myself and all the Rohingya people, were speaking up for her that she will come in power and restore democracy. She was unable to do anything until the US full sanction on Myanmar started working. So full sanctions work. The current ask of the targeted sanction will not work. The Myanmar economy is controlled by military people. They were feeling the pain, and that's why they allowed Suu Kyi to be a partial leader of that country. Our request to America and our Senate and the House is that they should pass a bill which calls for full sanctions on Burma until the citizenship of Rohingyas is restored, safe zone with peacekeepers is created so they can start living their life as a normal citizens of Burma with full civil rights and human rights. Any questions? Please go ahead.
So I understand why you're appealing to the U.S., but isn't the main roadblock to sanctions, effective multilateral sanctions against Myanmar/Burma and China in the UN Security Council? I mean, do you think the U.S. will be able to prevail upon China to vote in favor of those sanctions?
We will only know when we take a stronger stand. In the past, there was a sanction regime on Myanmar, not very long ago. And I think it was a mistake of President Obama to lift sanction because Suu Kyi is such a nice person. World politics doesn't work because a person looks good. You see the results. She is essentially the first civilian appointed commander-in-chief to restore peace, not only to Rohingya people, but to Kachin and Shan and Chin, there are 20 groups who are fighting for their rights in that country, being denied, persecuted, raped by Burmese military commanders. Or if she is unable to appoint the first civilian declared commander-in-chief, then she needs to step down and let the world know that I tried but I failed.
I have a follow-up, but I'll stop that. So
Please.
Follow-up?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sure. Another thing that's maybe underreported is sort of what's happening to the land that's been taken from the Rohingya, right? So, Rohingya, sorry. The government has this redevelopment sort of scheme where they take away land, so they burn down the villages, they take back the land. And this is, I've seen some reports about this being part of a business deal they have with China, in some cases India. Where do you think that people can be returned to if the government has taken this land and sort of earmarked it for business development and business deals with other countries?
This is exactly the reason we're saying this game should not allow to go on, and it need to be stopped, and world need to step in. I would like Shaukat address.
The Burmese government need to stop immediately the persecution on the Rohingya people, because this is not just the recently, this is created this problem for many years, more than 50 years. The Chinese government is, they're supporting economically to the Burma. It is fine, no problem. We don't have anything there. We need the Burma to be developed country in the world. At the same time, Chinese government also need to make understand the Burma to give these people the protection and to give these people and to restore their citizenship rights, to live peacefully with other nationalities in Burma. So we request the international community, including our government, US government, to fully raise this issue, including on the UN Security Council, and make the Chinese government understand and tell them this issue properly, and then the press the Burma to make the country and to be peaceful with all nationalities. Then Burma will be developed in the international arena.
China has faced genocide, and I hope one of these days China will realize what is happening to Rohingya people. Rohingya people are very hardworking people. If China is looking for the prosperity and the Silk Route and open roads, these people could be an excellent partners, but as equal citizens, not as slaves who could be thrown out of country today, taken back tomorrow, lose 100,000 there and bring 200,000 in the next row. Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. Mujahid, you said you would like to ask the United States government and parliament total sanction. Can you define what you mean exactly? What you mean total sanctions, please?
There was a sanction regime in place before Suu Kyi came into power, but we will never advocate for economic sanction on food and medicine. But other than those two items, there need to be complete sanctions. We're not asking any country in the world to go around bombing. Bombing is not a solution. But we should use each and every means available. So full economic sanctions on Burma by all the civilized world until they allow United Nations visa. Could you believe Burma has the honor of being the only country who denies a visa to United Nations body to investigate? What do they have to hide? What are they hiding from? Allow people in, allow people to live, And I think that will start opening and facts will be coming out. But Myanmar is not going to listen until certain actions are taken and full economic sanctions minus food and medicine are in order to achieve this goal.
And then one more thing for the Mr. Joshua, you said that you can accept it's not Kofi Annan's recommendations are not enough. If you can accept the Kofi Annan recommendation, do you think it's way easy to deal the problem? Please.
You know, he didn't say that, let him explain, but we accept Kofi Annan's recommendation. But we also are aware that military sabotage those things. Senior commander in words says that he doesn't quite agree. Suchi says, I agree. Senior commander chief says, we don't agree. So they sabotage that. We support that. That's too little, too late. And that it is still being ignored. Unless a full economic sanction regime come into place, they will not even listen to what Kofi Annan has to say.
I want to make the clear about the Kofi Annan recommendation. So I do not mean that, that we do not support the Kofi Annan recommendation. We fully accept, we fully recommend the Kofi Annan recommendation of 88 points of recommendation. I stated, the Aung San Suu Kyi, the state councillor, and the military government, they said they are implementing the Kofi Annan recommendation. But they are not implementing in the direct way, in the clear way. They are implementing in other way, in the second way. Because the recommendation does not say, to give the Rohingya people the national verification card NVC. If you find anything, please show me. Not mention for the national verification card. Kofi Annan recommendation says, give the citizenship, those are qualified. And please do not put the Rohingya people in the detention camp. Kofi Annan recommendation says, these people should be rehabilitated in their original location. So Burmese government, the state councillor office, she has the full power. Even though she is not the president, she is the full power. She do not implement the recommendation in the direct way, in the clear way. She is implementing in different way. Why they are trying to rehabilitate the people who are the CPIDP camp, about 140,000 people in different place, not to their original place. So this is I stated, we want to rehabilitate these people to their original houses, original villages, not different place.
Yes.
My name is Safan. Do you believe that the U.S. or any other international communities will apply full sanctions against Myanmar? Do you really believe that?
It has been done in the past. It can be done in future. And now there is more reason to do that in the past. There were no million people whose houses have been burned to ashes. There were no surveys of 52% of all women being raped. This is happening now. So if we did in the past, it worked. Now there is more reason to do it, and we fully believe it's an actionable item.
Sorry, what do you think would be the consequences if actions aren't taken down the line? I mean, what does this mean internationally? Because when you look at the headlines that have been coming out steadily since August, they've gone from alarming to terrifying. I mean, one was the Doctors Without Borders casualty count that really rivals an all-out war in Yemen, right? So what, 9,000 people killed, in 3 months or something like that, which is similar to 10,000 killed over 3 years in Yemen. That's terrifying. So, I mean, what do you think are the consequences if the international community doesn't step in and doesn't do something?
Doctors Without Borders does extraordinary work, but they, in their report, is stated it is
Approximate.
extremely understated.
Sure.
Our survey estimates are close to 100,000. There are villages in which half of the all people have been wiped out. Whenever I ask people, I start talking to people in the camps, more people gather, and so I cannot talk one-on-one. So I ask them some general question. How many people have you seen personally who got killed? And almost 40% people raised their hands. And then I thought they may be from one village. So when I asked one by one, they are non-related people. So I think killing is at a wider level. And of course, this is the first genocide which has been documented live through satellite, and which is well established, the devastation which has happened. I think it is the responsibility of people of conscious human rights organization who are doing a good job to do a better job. The challenge is these people are being subject to two types of things. Racism, because they are darker skinned people, not lighter skinned people, and these people say that. Rape victims are told, who wants to rape these people? Look at their faces. This has been repeated by Aung San Suu Kyi's spokesperson, and she did not have wisdom or courage to fire that person on commenting on somebody's color. And second, they are picking up on the worldwide Islamophobia regime. So they are subjected to things which are extraordinarily cruel. And I think once the world is more informed, things will change. 5 years ago, no one knew what Rohingya word means. Today, at least people know. Their struggle is a long-term struggle. But this is the time for world to act if they want results. And the only way to do that is full sanction on Myanmar, minus food and medicine.
Sir, but you mentioned Islamophobia. Are you concerned at all that if this continues without sanctions, without actual effective interference from the international community, that it will open the door for other types of genocides, especially, or campaigns targeting Muslim people around the world?
This is absolutely true. You must be commended for the wisdom of taking your mind to that direction. 3 days ago, in the Indian state of Assam, which is next to Bangladesh, on the other side is Burma, 13 million Muslim citizenship has been taken away, including serving member of the parliament, and his name is Ajmal, A-J-M-A-L, and it's just an Indian news. It's not in world media. So what are they saying? They're saying we will take away their citizenship. Second, they will be not allowed to vote in coming election. Third, we will deport them. These 3 words have been used, exact recipe from Myanmar. And Indian government and Chinese government need to realize that in their history, people have been hurt. They need to bring their humanity out when they are thinking of dealing with certain people.
Just to clarify,
Introduce yourself.
Ali Imran from Views and News. You are saying that Rohingya refugees are not prepared to go back under any plan immediately to Myanmar. Number 2, are you calling for UN or US sanctions against Myanmar?
Oh, we just did. We are saying, as you can see this chart, this game are throwing people out and accepting. What you cannot see in fine line, they throw out 290,000 people. People they accepted are far less than that. So each time more people are being thrown and small number are accepted because of the because of the documentation required. Documentation they are asked to provide cannot be provided because whole Burma, even the Burmese people, Burman people, there are Baptist Christians over there, there are Buddhists and Hindus. No one 100 years ago was going around carrying their birth certificate, so nobody can prove. But historically, these people are citizens of Burma. They are living in their ancestral land. So they cannot be sent back unless security is provided, citizenship is restored, and they are allowed to live in their ancestral land. And our request to United Nations is that, keep trying for the visa. And if you like, we can have 100,000 people demonstrating, give visa to United Nations to enter over there. So I don't know what United Nations can do, but I do have expectation from the United States because I'm citizen of the United States. Our coalition members are citizens of the United States. We think this is the genocide of our time. Convention on Genocide was adopted after Holocaust. And Holocaust, we have horrible attitude. We did not allow people from the St. Louis ship, 908 people, to land in America. Half of those people were taken back to Nazi Germany where they were murdered and killed. This is the time to prove to the world that you cannot allow genocide to happen. So never again is happening again, and we must stand up. And how do we force that? We are not calling bombing of Myanmar. That's not a solution. But we are asking for full sanction regime to brought back, which forced the military to accept Suu Kyi. Now Suu Kyi and military both need to accept world condition, allowing United Nations to come in, restore the citizenship of Rohingya, restore them to their ancestral land, allow all world organization, whoever wants to help. There are Burmese Buddhist Americans who want to help Rohingya people. Even those Buddhist Americans are not allowed to go in Burma and help them. So this needs to become a cry from all countries, and I think it is very achievable because it was done and we saw the results in Burma.
Simon?
Hi, Simon Billiness, International Campaign for the Rohingya, and we greatly share your stress on the need for sanctions by the international community, and you're quite correct. The international community has done this before, and not just in sanctions by governments, but also sanctions by citizens, boycotting companies that did business in Burma, shareholders putting pressure on companies. We're seeing that now already, starting up again with the shareholder resolution at Chevron by Azad Asset Management, and the recent successful campaign to stop Cartier from buying gems mined in Burma. Now the focus is on Bulgaria. And so I just want to be clear. I mean, are you calling for sanctions by not just by the governments of the world, but also by the citizens of the world to prevent this genocide?
We support all type of actions possible, but we are very clearly focused. What brought Myanmar to accept Suu Kyi? It was a worldwide economic boycott. That is our top priority and focus. Well, if there are no questions, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
That's why Bangladesh government make the Burmese government make understanding that our accept these people with the citizenship rights, peace and security. Without this, that they have no any future. And so they will be.
So they stopped the visa of the United Nations instead of stopping the rape. So I think that Myanmar is more about 7 Nobel Peace Laureates have signed a statement that what is happening in Burma is a textbook case of genocide, that a whole indigenous community living in their ancestral land is being systematically being wiped out by the Burmese military. Nobel Peace Laureate have
is anthropology.
We are asking American government to place full sanctions on Burma, minus food and medicine, because it was the full sanctions which persuaded
Burmese
as well as
army
restoring
dominates the
power.
gem trade. in Burma, and this is a way of putting direct economic pressure on the Burmese army.
And finally, is it the solution putting pressure over Bangladesh government to implement
I think full sanction worked in the past.
Hey, thank you, man.
One of the